Hey guys, it's so good to see you, even though I'm not actually seeing you. I'm seeing you here. It's good to be back into this teaching space, and hopefully everyone is still well. I have a couple of things that I want to talk about, some logistics stuff that's happening for the next couple of weeks, and then we're going to talk a little bit about bacteria today. Tomorrow we're going to talk about viruses and populations, which is really great because of why I'm teaching you right now, because we're not all together because of a virus. Couple of things real quick. First of all, if you are submitting stuff on the Google Classrooms, sometimes it's coming through that it's turned in, sometimes it is not coming through that it's turned in. So if you are turning stuff in and I'm not seeing it, please make sure you email me or send me a private message on the Google Classroom, and then I'll be able to see where I'm missing stuff. Every Monday I'm at school. You see I'm at school today. Next Monday I'm not at school because it's Easter break. So every Monday I'm adding stuff into the Google Classroom. Into MMS. So if you see on Tuesday that I have not put in one of the assignments that you've submitted, please make sure that you shoot me an email, DM me, whatever. Let me know that you actually completed that work. For this work that we're doing, every time I send something, you can either put it on to Google Classroom, you can email it to me. I've had people take pictures of their work and send it to me at my kniha.life.lessons on the Instagram. That's my Mrs. Kniha page on Instagram, or you can even on the tweeters, you can send it to me at StacyK628. A couple of other good things, no keystones. Now they can, so we don't have to worry about keystones anymore for this time. Because of that, we get to do some fun things, because in biology, it's very strict with what we have to teach because of the keystones, but now we can branch out a little bit into that. Other thing that I wanted to say, I'm posting this to all three classes, so Bio 1, Bio 2, and Zoology. Bio 1, you have gone through populations. That's where we left off whenever we were quarantined. And then we did a chapter on bacteria and viruses. And now this is going to put everything together, especially after last week's lessons where you watched those TED Talks and those videos. Same thing with Bio 2. Zoology, you haven't done that stuff, but you've taken Bio 2 and Bio 1, or you're currently in that class. So this is pertinent for everybody. If you're in Bio 2 and Zoology, or Bio 1 and Zoology, only submit it once. It's going to count for both of you, for both times. Okay, let's talk about prokaryotes quickly. When we looked at prokaryotes, whenever we looked at those bacteria, you know that prokaryotes do not have a nucleus, and they do not have any membrane-bound organelles. And because of that, people often think that they're just these super primitive organisms that don't really do anything except make people sick. But bacteria are awesome. If I were to go back to college right now and I were going to study something, I would study bacteria. 1 billion%. It's an entire new emerging field. There's a whole bunch of stuff happening in the gut bacteria that we know nothing about, but it's a big field of research. So if you're interested and you're looking for a career path, then quite possibly studying bacteria might be something good for you. Genetic counseling, that's the other one that would also probably be really good for you to go into. So bacteria get this bad rap that they're just these primitive things that go around and make people sick. Yeah, they do. They eat your flesh and they do make you sick, but they also, most of your body right now is bacterial as opposed to being eukaryotic. There are more bacterial cells in you or on you right now than are eukaryotic. So bacteria are like the OG of biology. I think that's what I'm going to name it from now on. Bacteria, the OG of biology. This is some weird stuff. I'm definitely not rewatching this. So anyway, when we are looking at bacteria, there's two big types, and we're going to briefly talk about the two. The first type are domain archaea, and that would be kingdom archaea bacteria. Those ones you're probably not coming into contact with unless you're on vacation, unless you're at a hydrothermal vent, or you're at Yellowstone and you're looking at some of those geysers, or you're snorkeling, you wouldn't even be able to snorkel there. You'd have to like submarine into the really deep hydrothermal vents in the bottom of the ocean. Or maybe you're at the Dead Sea, and so you're floating around in the Dead Sea reading a newspaper, because that's the picture that everybody likes to show whenever they are at the Dead Sea. Those are the places that we find archaea or archaea bacteria. The really, really extreme environments, places where people normally aren't. Most of the time, they're fine. A lot of times they are either photosynthetic or chemosynthetic. They're not gonna hurt you. They are just really loving that super salty environment in the Dead Sea, or they're really loving the really acidic environment wherever it happens to be. So they're great, they're cool, but let's talk about eubacteria. Eu means true. The prefix EU means true. Just like you are a eukaryote, that EU, eukaryo means nucleus, so you are a eukaryote with a true nucleus. Prokaryotes, pro means before. They are before a nucleus. I miss those vocab quizzes. We will eventually have those again someday, hopefully. But because of the keystones, I don't think we'll do the extra questions. Yay! Okay, so those eubacteria are the one that most people think of when they think of bacteria. Those are the ones that make you sick. And we classify them by what they have in their cell walls. We're not going to get into all of that right now because that's a lot higher level than we're going for currently. But we do generally classify them according to their shape. So, chalkboard. I miss my chalkboard. So, if it is in a sphere shaped, then we call that a coccus bacteria. If it's in more of a rod shape, we would call that a bacillus. And then we classify them according to how they cluster together. So if they're in a straight chain of circles, we would call that streptococcus, strep throat. If it is in a grape-like cluster, oh mercy, I'm sorry if you're watching this and you don't know that I can't draw. There we go. Then it would be what we call a staph. This would be Staphylococcus. I don't know what that is. If it were a cluster of circles, then we would call that Staphylococcus. It could be like MRSA. So whenever you are sick, whenever you're sick and you go to the doctor and they do a throat swab, what they're going to do, they're going to take it back to the lab, and somebody like Mrs. Boyle is going to test it, and they're going to try to determine what type of bacteria it is so they know what type of antibiotic is going to kill it. And antibiotics are how we get rid of bacterial infections. The bacteria and fungus. So bacteria and fungus in nature are decomposers. They are both going to try to get rid of their competition. So in order to get rid of their competition, they secrete antibiotics to kill off the other. That's why we get things like penicillin from bread mold, because mold is a fungus. It's just trying to get rid of its competition. So it's going to secrete those antibiotics. Antibiotics don't kill viruses. That's why with COVID-19, we don't have an antibiotic to get rid of it, because it's a virus. Back in the day, it used to be you would go to your doctor and say, I have some sniffles and I think I need an antibiotic. And they would give you an antibiotic. And that was just general practice that they would. They weren't doing anything bad. They were doing what they were supposed to do. But maybe the sniffles weren't actually from a bacteria. Maybe they were from a virus. So it didn't do anything to hurt it other than any of the bacteria that are in your body that it was trying to kill. They just kind of knew, like, oh cool, this is what they're going to use next time. Other things that happened is, say you do have strep throat and your doctor gives you a course of antibiotics that last 10 days. And on day 7, you start to feel better. So people would stop taking their antibiotics, and when they would stop taking their antibiotics, maybe they killed most of the bacteria that were in there, but they didn't kill all of them. So the bacteria that were left then knew, oh cool, next time she gets strep throat, they're gonna give her amoxicillin and she's going to get it. Actually what bacteria do is erase. They will often have, so here's bacteria, their DNA is in a little piece. It's a circle of DNA. I think that might have been a question on that test that you took. So bacterial DNA is one long piece. It's a piece of circular DNA. All my colors disappeared. That's strange. There's nobody here to disappear my colors. Okay, pink. So what often happens with bacteria is they will have a second piece of DNA that's pink. You just can't tell. Whoop, there it is. And in that second piece of DNA, that's what we call a plasmid. And they will often transmit that to each other so that they all now have immunity to that antibiotic. That's where you hear things like antibiotic resistance, because these bacteria who've been around for a really long time want to survive. And so they pass that on. Even if they might die, they want to pass it on to their offspring so that the species doesn't die. So that's how the antibiotic resistance works, generally through transmitting separate pieces of DNA that we call a plasmid. One last thing about bacteria, in addition to the ones that make you sick, we can use them in industry. We have developed, and I think it's still working, on bacteria that break down plastic. So we have all of this plastic in landfills that we can't get rid of. So we're working on bacteria that can eat that plastic and digest it so that it can put good stuff back into the soil. We have a bacteria that breaks down petroleum. So if there's an oil spill and it is all over the little duckies, so we take the little ducks and we scrub them off with Dawn soap, but then dish soap, and that's great because Dawn dish soap is non-polar, just as the oil is non-polar. So it's going to scrub it off, but now we have these rocks or pebbles, and we can't go around scrubbing every single pebble. So we'll spray this bacteria. Actually, it's more like a hose, not like a. So we spray the rocks with this bacteria, and the bacteria eat the petroleum, and then it just leaves everything else as it was. So we use it for industry. We use it to break down stuff. It does make you sick, but it also is going to help you digest your food. There are some thoughts right now that those bacteria that are in your gut are able to distinguish between naturally occurring gene sequences and genetically modified gene sequences. There are some thoughts that some of your gut bacteria may play a role into if you have anxiety or depression. There is a study going on right now about certain antibiotics that whenever they kill your illness, they also kill those bacteria that help keep the anxiety down and causes you to then have anxiety if you take that antibiotic. So there's lots and lots and lots of things that bacteria do other than just make you sick and other than just be in really cool places and make the water look green at like a geyser. So bacteria are incredible. They, again, are the OGs of biology. And then tomorrow, when you watch us, actually, I'm just going to record it right after this. So I'm going to be wearing the same outfit, but you'll watch it on Wednesday, we're going to talk about viruses, and we're going to talk about populations. Again, email me, DM me, send a private message, whatever you got to do to get a hold of me. Please make sure, though, that you are doing your assignments, and I can't wait to be back together with you whenever that is, because I miss your little faces. Bye.